Thank you very much. So if you have any questions, you can contact us or Glenn directly, but you can contact us in the partnership team and we can put you in contact very quickly. But
Yes.
Thank you so much, Glenn.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Our last talk of the day, I'm passing over to a different kind of project that we have. I believe some of the people that were here yesterday heard talk about the AI for Humanity team. One of the projects that they have is Project DISA, and the Project DISA team is present today in hybrid mode, so here and online. They're joining us as a team. DISA is data-driven insights for sustainable agricultural. It's mainly focused in Rwanda, in Africa. We have, I believe, 3 people joining us. So we have Alison Cohen, who is the Senior Applied AI Projects Lead at Mila. In this role, she works closely with AI researchers, social science experts, and external partners. She's part of the team of the people that presented yesterday, more generally Trail and Responsible AI. Ernest Anamikaze, am I saying that right? Anamikaze, sorry, is project manager at Future Earth and McGill University, and Jennifer Garrard is deputy director at Future Earth. So the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Allison.
Perfect. Can you see me and hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. I'm also hoping I can request that Daoud also be promoted to a speaker. He's here as well and part of the team.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much. So first of all, thank you all for being here. I'm so excited that we get to present this work to you. Charles, you did a fantastic job of giving a little bit of information about me and my background. So I'll just mention that DISA is one of the projects in the AI for Humanity portfolio. And the reason that we're so excited to be presenting it today is because it really showcases so well some of the high impact work that we're doing within the AI for Humanity team, but also the ways in which we are collaborating with a number of external stakeholders to bring these projects to fruition. And with that, I'll pass it to one of our collaborators, Ernest.
Yes, thank you very much, Arson. So as they have said, my name is Ernest Habanabakize, and as they said, I'm a project manager at Future Earth. And today we're going to be talking about the data-driven insight for sustainable agriculture. So first of all, why should we even care about farming, right? So there's now 7.9 billion of Earth that actually depends on land that is really degrading because of the use of conventional chemical-driven agriculture systems as opposed to sustainable practices. More specifically, actually, 65% of the land in Africa is degraded, and that has actually led to 30% decrease of the yields since 1961. And but as you can see, there's hope. If you see the image here at the left side, the soil is visibly more aggregated. With soil aggregate that very stable and very together, as opposed to the image on the left that look more oozy. That means actually a regenerative soil. And what that means is more capacity actually to retain water, more capacity to actually put more microbes that are beneficial to the soil, to the plants together in the soil, and more so water retention. And that's the reason why today we're going to be talking about regenerative agriculture as one of the potential solutions to this massive degradation of land due to the use of chemical use in agriculture. But what is exactly regenerative agriculture? Well, even if the term has recently gained actually a lot of talks from the media, from the public, academia, there's no common agreed upon of definition of that term. We tend to see actually scholars having a common understanding of the definitions that are based either on the practices or the potential benefits or outcomes, or actually the combination of the two. And this becomes very important because as stakeholders or as people who are working together, we need to have a definition that actually we agree on as participants or as people are on the project. And for us, after consultations and exchange knowledge between our partners and people in the group, we see regenerative agriculture as a mode of farming that transition away from this chemical-driven system of farming that degrade the soil, and then transition to actually the system that breed the soils to a nature positive, net zero raw carbon emission that actually promote best practices. And we actually base our definition on the 9 principles. And when I talk 9 principles, they were taken from one of our partners in India, Andhra Pradesh. That's a community of 800,000 farmers who have transitioned away from chemical-driven farming to regenerative agriculture farming over now 10 years. And they are becoming a very big success story around the globe of the benefits they've seen so far. And so some of these principles, they are now 9. I'm not gonna go into all of them, but I'll just give you a quick overview of the 3 of them. For example, when you talk about crop cover, what do we mean? So it's really ensuring that the soil is covered 365 days a year, or at least as much time as possible over the year. And that actually ensures that when the rain falls on the soil is not degraded or the soil is not destroyed, and there's better infiltration process of the water in the soils. And that's some of the benefits I can easily say for now for the crop cover. And when we talk about things like crop diversity, it's really ensuring that we have as many species as possible in the farming systems. And what that really means is actually those species being grown close to each other, bringing the mutual benefits of the interaction of those plants to that very soil, and then ensuring that the microbial community is doing well, and actually each plant bringing a set of benefits to the pumping a set of benefits and microbe to the soil, which become part of the whole system as the system as a whole. And so when we talk about no or low tillage, we're really talking about trying to minimize the disturbance of the soil as much as we can, because the more we do the plowing, actually using the hoe or the machines, the more we destroy the fungal structures that glue the soil together, so that we actually can get to the structure that I've shown you in the first image. And you know, when that structure is destroyed, so the microbial diversity and the content of the soil get distracted, and you know, the structure of the soil get loosey, which actually leads to not enough capacity to hold the water, and actually many more other losses can happen because of that. So really, all of these all these practices means to ensure that we have better soils, healthy soils, and then healthy plants. And more healthy plants we have, the better soil we have as a feedback loop. We have some reference, some literatures that people can go to get more details about these principles when they can. So, but what's the goal of this project? So one of the biggest problems that regenerative agriculture is facing these days is the adoption, and actually because of the lack of evidence, the data of the benefits. So as I said, there's still a lot of confusion about the definitions. You know, some people based on the practices, other people based on the benefits, or both, which really calls to the fact that we really need to have the evidence for adoption. We are in a context where for the last 10 years, governments, academia, and public sectors have been promoting chemical-driven agriculture. For really that to change, we need to have a base of evidence to prove to people, so that people can change the mindset or the policy action. And for that, we try to leverage the use of technologies, local knowledge, ground truthing data to breed machine learning models that can help to breed those evidences. And what we hope to do with those evidences of this data is actually to motivate policy response, you know, at all levels, in terms of the decision makers, in terms of the policy actors, and actually at farm level, so that people can act based on these data. And eventually, in terms of research, we plan to do some comparisons of the benefits of the viability of regenerative agriculture across the domains, in terms of environmental benefits, economic benefits, and social benefits. And eventually, in the long run, build the capacity of the farmers and the local communities in Rwanda who are eventually going to help the adoption at the scale of this practice. But I'm gonna pass this to Arson to really explain more on how we're going to do this and how we do this using technologies and local actors. On you, Arson.
Thank you so much, Ernest. So as you can see, we took a very careful approach in defining our goals. Once we did, we assembled a very strong team, and then we aligned on the methodology that we would take to conduct this work. Once this was done, we decided to go directly to the field. We wanted to understand more about what regenerative agriculture actually looks like in Rwanda. So we conducted a survey of over 800 farms going around the entire country to better understand exactly what it is that these farmers are doing. And we did this for two reasons. One is so that our definition of regenerative agriculture could accurately reflect the way that regenerative agriculture was being practiced. And the other is that we have data at scale. We've gotten data at scale through satellite imagery via a partnership that we have with an organization called Planet. And if we are to use machine learning models leveraging this data set, we need to know that what we're observing from the sky aligns with what we're seeing on the ground. So this was a way of establishing ground truth data that we could use to cross-reference with our satellite data. And of course, our goal on the machine learning side is not just to be able to identify regenerative plots of land, but to demonstrate the impact that regenerative agriculture is having, specifically in terms of the impact that it's having on the health of our soils. So we made sure to ask farmers about things like soil erosion and soil fertility and other metrics that would allow us to really correlate the impact of these farming practices with outcomes of interest. And here you see an image of one of our collaborators in the field speaking with one of the Rwandan farmers that we had interviewed. And with that, I think I'm passing it off to Daoud.
All right. So thank you, Alison. And I think you've laid a great foundation. And as we said, we surveyed 815 farms all across Rwanda in our first phase for a two-pronged approach of getting the data on the ground from the farmers as well as satellite imagery. And we have a diverse spread. On the image, you can see the survey locations, as well as what we built. We built a regenerative score through various questions that we asked. These questions were largely anchored to the practice, especially defined by Andhra Pradesh and built by domain experts, and help us figure out how each farm is doing on the regenerative context. The questions about the 9 principles, like crop cover, or how many species are planted, is a tractor being used? So questions that tackle to what extent the practices are done, as well as questions that relate to the context that is there. So for instance, we ask how eroded is the soil in the current status quo, the water access. And finally, we ask how long has this been going on? So we can measure the change over time when we come to our satellite images. And so together with some of these questions and with the satellite images, we believe we have something quite exciting. Can you have the next slide? So I think the thing that makes me the most excited about this project is the new frontier that we have in remote sensing. And this is something that's changed drastically over the past couple of years even. And this is the advent of new high spatial and temporal resolution, which really is groundbreaking in this field. So we have data at the 3-meter resolution almost every day coming in. And what this allows us to do is to monitor the growth, the harvest, and the entirety of the farmland throughout the year with our imagery. And especially considering the nature of smallholder farms and individual crop fields, which is an novelty that we want to do. When you have a crop field that's 20 meter by 20 meter, and when you have previously we used to have 10 meter per pixel, it was very hard to see what's going on. And fortunately, now we have the pair of both 3-meter resolution at the daily level, as well as one snapshot at the 0.5 meter, half a meter resolution. And this makes a very clear image where even visually you can very easily see what's happening in each field. This allows us to build models and really apply computer vision on this data set in an unprecedented way as ever before. And then from that, I'll go over to the ML avenues. So now that we have this great source of data, the question is like, what is the best way to make use of it, and what are we trying to do? And one of the main things is, what are the regenerative practices can you monitor from the imagery itself? And I think from the first low-hanging fruits we're thinking of tackling is the crop cover. So can we detect, if we know the exact position of a crop field, can we detect if there's crop throughout the year? And as well as how many species are there in a certain area. This is increasingly challenging as adjacent fields sometimes might have differing or varying crops in them. And this brings us to a very open problem, which is delineating where a field is and is not, is very tricky and unsolved at the current moment. So there is no, so to speak, segmentation model for crop fields. But this is one of the most exciting avenues of research that we have right now. And we are hoping that in a combination of 3 things, one, the high resolution imagery that we have. So for instance, at the 0.5 meter especially gives us the clarity to infer boundaries. And the temporal information that we get allows us to build a priors that we can pair with some novel advances in zero-shot segmentation, like segment anything. Together, we can be able to build better models for field segmentation. And once we have that, we're hoping that it can unlock some of the other things. I think this whole field is kind of unique in the sense that we have a very large amount of data and images, but the challenge is still we want to move in a way to really scale our findings. We need to move in a way that the labels are still like low cost. And so with this challenge of large amount of data but expensive labeling, it's a very exciting avenue for unsupervised learning and even self-supervised learning. And that's the third avenue that we're very excited about. And finally, we want to investigate further what measurable outcomes can we see from satellite imagery towards the impact of the outcomes of regenerative farming. So for instance, we can, because of the temporal information, measure when adverse weather events hit, things like drought or excessive rain hit. And we can see whether farms that carry out regenerative practices sustain the levels of agriculture there or are adversely affected compared to neighboring farms. Similarly, we want to be able to compare the harvest quality, and we can measure this as well, hopefully using crop indices. So overall, I think there's a lot of open questions that we're trying to address. And it's a booming area with this unprecedented imagery as well as advances in computer vision that has happened over the past years. Okay, with that, I will give it to Jennifer.
Thank you so much. My name is Jennifer Gerard. I'm the Deputy Director of Sustainability in the Digital Age and Future Earth, so partners in this work. So it's clear that the work that we are talking about today can't be accomplished by any one group, one organization on their own. And as you can imagine, it's not always easy finding ways for such a diversity of groups and coming from very different levels of domain expertise to collaborate together. So what we started with as a foundation was really building on our previous work in this space. So the Reimagining Climate Governance framework, which you can see on the screen, was initially conceived actually in the context of changing the way that climate projects are funded broadly. But we realized very early on that the applications of this framework in terms of co-developing very bottom-up participatory innovative solutions are very far-reaching. And so some of the main aspects from this framework that we integrated into the DISA project from the very earliest stages are ensuring that we highlight not only what worked well in the project, but we also highlight what didn't work. What are the main challenges? Where did we fail, essentially, so that we can actually fail forward, learning from our mistakes. We also really focused a lot on building trust, essentially. So taking a co-learning approach, iterative approach to developing solutions and really testing along the way so that we can learn more about each other's disciplinary approaches. We also took the time to really iteratively explore, exchange ideas, exchange knowledge bases as a team. So this includes weekly meetings with the core project team that have been going on for many, many months. And we ensure that all the solutions, all the ideas and research avenues that we're developing are really strongly rooted in the local context. And that is to say, in the context of smallholder farmers on the ground in Rwanda. And the reason is we want to make sure that ultimately the solutions that we develop through this project are reasonable or appropriate to integrate locally so that we can have that impact. But also we see that as key ultimately to scaling the research project, so to expanding into other areas. Members of our core team have also fostered knowledge exchanges. So between farmer cooperatives in Rwanda, who we're working with on this project, and farmer organizations in Andhra Pradesh, which my colleague Ernest had mentioned earlier, the Andhra Pradesh community managed research, natural farming initiative, which has really been a huge source of inspiration for our project and with whom we continue to collaborate and learn from. In terms of collaboration within our team, we've taken a very participatory approach from the outset, as I mentioned, building on trusted relationships. So really what we've done is try to identify right at the beginning what those key problems, the key research questions we want to address are together. So in a very interdisciplinary method. So that involves, of course, learning about each other's disciplinary backgrounds, building sufficient understanding to really be able to ask the right questions of each other. And of course, being accountable to each other, to the other members of the project team and to our partners on the ground. So DISA is in line with the theme today, built on very strong partnerships. The core group that you can see here includes, of course, Mila, who are, as Daoud mentioned, so eloquently leading on machine learning and data analysis for the project. Of course, sustainability in the digital age and Future Earth, the organizations which I am affiliated with. And we're really leading on partnerships, fundraising, and providing that agricultural domain expertise. We also work closely with the Regional Research Center for Integrated Development in Rwanda, RCID, a local organization who coordinated the ground truth data collection that Alison described. Leaper Labs, a Rwandan organization that focuses on providing opportunities to learn, develop, and deploy tech solutions. And Planet Labs, who Alison mentioned provided the high resolution satellite data. I also wanted to note that we work with a wide variety of other organizations as well. So just to name a few, we're in contact with Bridge to Rwanda, an agricultural organization in Rwanda who participated in those knowledge exchanges I mentioned that took place back in 2021. And now actually inspired by those knowledge exchanges have over 100 demonstration plots actually testing the viability of regenerative agriculture in Rwanda, which is really exciting to see. We have collaborators in C4ICRAF as well, the World Agroforestry Research Center, with whom we're exploring novel methods to actually test soil organic carbon, soil carbon sequestration. So seeing how this might relate actually as an outcome variable to climate impacts and climate mitigation. And of course, the Andhra Pradesh Community Managed Natural Farming Initiative. So really, again, a critical partner for us. And I want to leave you just with a little idea of the wide range of affiliations, geographic locations, backgrounds of our wonderful team of collaborators. So of course, the Mila team. So you've heard from Alison and Daoud, who are here virtually with us today, as well as Gaetan and Melisande, who are part of the Mila organization. We have Rosette, our intern at Leaper Labs, based in Rwanda. We've got the Future Earth and Sustainability in the Digital Age team, our director, Micheline, my colleague, Ernest. We've also got Aaron, Poonam, and myself. We have, of course, also the core team at Regional Research Center for Integrated Development in Rwanda, RCID. And that's really led a lot by Ramsey and Jules, who are based also in Rwanda. We've got senior GIS experts who are located on the ground in Rwanda as well. That's Casper and Connie. Kinsey, who is our main contact point and close collaborator at Planet Labs. And of course, our colleague Jane, who's joining us here today, who is doing an externship with us at Future Earth, but who is based at the Open Air Network and came in from Ottawa. So we're grateful to have her with us today. And Eliane, who is at C4 ICRAF now, but was previously with us at Future Earth Sustainability in the Digital Age, and who is really one of the people who ideated this in the first place. So of course, grateful to her leadership, her thought leadership, and her vision in this project. With that, I will hand back to Allison. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jen. So I'll leave you with the idea of how you might be able to engage if there is interest among those that are here today. This is obviously a pretty significant project, and we couldn't do it without the help of such strong collaborators. So if there is interest, the areas that we've identified as being the most high priority for us is, first of all, of course, financial support. This is what would keep our project going. We're doing well for now, but we do know that we want to be deploying this work and be involved with it long term. So financial support is going to be incredibly important. It's going to continue to be important. The other way you can collaborate is, as Daoud mentioned, we're working on highly cutting edge scientific work. So if there is interest in becoming involved in some of these new research domains, specifically leveraging high resolution satellite imagery to do things like delineate specific boundaries or to identify things like crop diversity, those are areas that we would be quite interested in collaborating on. Just so that you know some of the long-term goals of this project and areas that we might otherwise collaborate in more in the long term, we're hoping to develop an app that farmers will be able to use to continue to provide us with real-time ground truth information, and so that we can provide information back to those farmers so that there is a consistent exchange of value. If there's expertise there, that would be of interest. And then finally, our goal is to continue to develop this project in a way that actually can be scaled outside of Rwanda and to other countries around Africa to promote the regenerative agriculture farming model as broadly as possible. So if scaling up is something that you specialize in and would like to support with, that would also be something that we would find quite interesting. I'll just say, if you pass to the next slide, Jen, this is my contact information. As the project manager representing Mila, I would be your first point of contact, so please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you so much.